Hello guys, welcome to the episode 34 of this playlist on creating the web API and consuming it with MVC in ASP.NET Core 3.1. I shall walk you through adding client-side validations today, and these episodes and codes in the code base are built in continuation from the previous ones. Hence I request you to go through them before coming to this one, and I will give you the promotional link to my promotion premium courses on Udemy if you put your constructive and positive comments on these videos, and I also request you to subscribe to the channel and share it. So let's go over and see what we are going to learn today. So by the end of this lecture, we shall know how to add client-side validations to the MVC client with jQuery packages and run the application to show client-side validation in action. So let's switch over to Visual Studio now. Now we have seen the validation attributes and the server-side validation. So we have also seen that, say for example, we need to validate the name property, whether the user has actually input the name or if the name property is not empty. So we are able to easily achieve this by this required validation attribute. Now this is known as model validation, as I have told you, which is also the server-side validation in conjunction with the ASP.NET Core tag helpers. Now the model validation performs this validation on the server side, which requires a round trip to the server. But sometimes this is not preferable from the point of user experience, as there is a time lag before the user gets the error message from the server. It also wastes server resources for a simple validation. Now this is a simple case of client-side validation. The client-side validation can be performed in many ways, and we can use JavaScript libraries like jQuery validation and JavaScript unobtrusive library, and we can also write our own JavaScript or HTML5 built-in validation. So in this lecture we are going to use unobtrusive client-side validation. Now ASP.NET Core includes unobtrusive client-side validation libraries, which makes it easier to add client-side validation code without writing a single line of code. Okay, so here when I created this project Web API consume with the model view controller template, I already had this www root. It is the content root which we have discussed in detail in one of the previous lectures, and we have got this lib folder which has got jQuery validation and jQuery validation unobtrusive folders, which has got jQuery.js and jQuery.validate.js and jQuery.validate.unobtrusive.js. Now these are the three packages absolutely important for us to perform the client-side validation. So let's see. This is the layout folder. This is the layout view. So layout view, I have included these three scripts, JavaScript libraries. This is jQuery.js, and this is jQuery.validate.js, and this is jQuery.validate.unobtrusive.js. Now it is utmost essential that these three are placed in this order, okay, because jQuery.validate.unobtrusive.js is built on top of jQuery.validate.js, okay, which in turn is built on top of jQuery.js. Okay, now I have already loaded this, so let's run this application. It's all ready to go. So let's click on the start menu. So as I have mentioned in the beginning of this lecture, that we have done the necessary plumbing for the client-side validation while we integrated the server-side validation. So that's also the reason that we went for the server-side validation before coming to this client-side validation. Okay, so click here. Now if I click on Add Customer, and if you want to submit the empty form, you'd expect this validation, nice validation summary will come along with the validation for each of these properties or fields. Okay, so now if I put a name, say for example anything, test1, so immediately it vanishes, it disappears, and that is client-side validation. And if I put on the address, any address, okay, and as soon as I start writing something, it will actually make the error message disappear. And this is actually, this telephone and email messages are coming from some regex, regular expression validation. So please put it 10-digit telephone number just to simulate a 10-digit mobile number. So let's do 0. It's automatically gone. And now if I don't put the email, okay, so if I will show you by putting an invalid email. So this field email must match the regular expression. This is the regular expression or regex expression for validating a proper email. Now if I, at this state, if I click on add customer, it will be doing the client side validation. So for client side validation, I have to still click the add customer button. But how do I prove? Let me prove that this is still not a server side round trip. It is a client side, because if I click on F12 to bring the developer tools, and if I click on network tab, see, nothing, no request has been sent over the wire, over the HTTP server. But if I continue and say complete this email field and then click on add customer, and then if I click this network tab, you will see that this has a status 200, a bootstrap on an all have got 200 status, which is success. The request is sent over the server, so HTTP request. So this is making a round trip. So that in that case, the server side validation takes over after the client side validation. Now how does the client side validation occurs at all? So for showing this, I have actually opened the page source for this page, okay, while this client validation is validating. And you can see here, if I just try to maximize it, let me see if I can zoom it up for you to see. Okay, yes, I can zoom it probably a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. All right, yeah, we are fine. Now you can see that there are, with these input labels, you have got some data val attribute. Data val equals true, data val required, please put a name, okay. And similarly, data val message for name, data val message dash replace, okay, data val message dash for. Similarly, for other fields, we have data val property, data val required, data val message for, like that. So all these data attributes are part of the HTML5, which allows us to add extra information to the HTML element. Now this JavaScript unobtrusive library reads the data val attributes and performs the client-side validation in the browser when the user submits the form. So these validations are done before the form is sent over an HTTP. So if there is a validation error, then the request will not be sent. So we have already checked that by opening the network tab on the developer tools. So in this lecture, we have successfully demonstrated how to do the client-side validation by including a few JavaScript libraries. So see you in the next lecture.